Knowledge and learning underpin the progress we make, as individuals and as a society. When we know more, we can solve new problems and explore fresh possibilities. For hundreds of years, Oxford University Press has been committed to sharing the best in human thinking. From a child reading their very first words to a researcher expanding the frontiers of their field, we passionately believe in the transformative power of knowledge and learning to inspire progress and realize human potential. But the world is changing. When all information is at our fingertips, data needs understanding. As content crowds every screen, ideas need space to breathe. And when the next great thinker can come from anywhere, they need to be seen. So Oxford University Press is changing too. Whether we're making learning work for anyone, anywhere, anytime, connecting a global community of English language learners, or helping influential ideas achieve greatest impact, we will meet the needs of education and research in new ways, with new ideas, for new audiences. For as long as the world keeps making progress, we will always be advancing knowledge and learning. Oxford University Press. Advancing knowledge and learning.
Hello and welcome. I'm Liesl, a proud member of the DHET team at Oxford University Press. I want to firstly thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Before we get into today's presentation, I would like to share with you a little bit more about Oxford University Press South Africa. Oxford, as we are more commonly known as, publishes for all educational sectors, including schools, higher education, and of course, DHET. We are an award-winning educational publisher with over 100 years of publishing experience in South Africa. Oxford University Press is South Africa's #1 dictionary and literature publisher. We publish more than 2,700 books in 11 official home languages. Our books are well researched and we pride ourselves in the delivery of high service standards. There's a renewed focus from the government towards DHET institutions and the upskilling of people and preparing them to enter the 21st century workplace confidently. One of the most anticipated changes within the DHET arena is the revised syllabi in key subject areas. Oxford welcomes these changes as it speaks to our core mission statement to transform lives through education. We recognize the power of education to change and advance knowledge and learning by uplifting and empowering individuals. We strive in our commitment to develop and deliver high quality and affordable educational materials to learners, students, teachers, and lecturers. You, as lecturers, while you play a critical part in the delivery and the development of our youth. You stand at the front line of the educational system, and we understand that these changes and shifts as you respond to the demands of the Fourth Industrial Revolution can cause uncertainty. But by choosing to attend this presentation, you've taken the first step in responding to these changes, and it's our privilege to partner with you along this journey. Our main aim with this presentation is to carefully guide you through the changes of the revised curriculum and what the changes might mean to you and your students practically. Without any further delay, I will now hand you over to our subject expert and author who will inform us on the syllabus changes and expectations.
Good day, colleagues. Thank you for joining me today for the Succeed in EBM N5 revised syllabus presentation. I would like to thank Oxford University Press for giving me this opportunity to present some of the exciting changes in the new syllabus for EBM N5 and the new features in the Succeed In series. Let's take a look at what we'll be discussing today. So we'll be looking at the reasons behind the revised syllabus. We'll have a look at the syllabus aims and weightings. We'll do a comparison of the former syllabus and the revised syllabus. And we'll go through exactly what to expect, what changes have taken place per module. And lastly, we'll take a look at how the EBM N5 Succeed In series supports teaching and learning in the classroom. Let's start by having a look at some of the reasons for the revised syllabus. As we know, the previous syllabus was implemented in June 1995. That's almost 30 years ago, and a lot has changed since then. We've had a lot of developments in how we do business. We've had a shift towards e-commerce or online shopping. We use a lot of digital marketing, social media, and we also have a lot of entrepreneurs who run their businesses from a smart device using apps. We've also had a change in how we teach, with a move towards outcomes-based education, or OBE. And we've had changes in how we assess our students, with the implementation of the ICAS guidelines in January 2021. Let's refresh our memories on the specific aims for Entrepreneurship N5. As we can see, the main purpose is to give students insight into the challenges of managing their own business. In N4, we showed students how to come up with business ideas for their business plan and how to start a small business. In N5, we are taking that business as a growing concern and teaching students how to manage the business as it expands. You'll see that the specific aims still contain the references to the modules, which you are familiar with in N5. For example, personal management, ethics, planning, organizing, staffing, controlling, and operations management. And there's still a strong focus on the business plan, making sure that students have the knowledge and skills to prepare a successful business plan that can be submitted to interested parties so that they can obtain funding or find opportunities for their growing businesses. We have a look at the duration for EBM N5. It remains the same at full-time, a minimum of 6 hours per week, of which at least 1 hour must be for practical for 1 semester, and our part-time students a minimum of 3 hours per week for 1 semester. The practical work in this instructional offering includes 1 hour of the prescribed 6 hours, which is for full-time students, which may be treated as a practical hour that can be done under supervision of the lecturer. Now, this is a change from the old syllabus. In the old syllabus, the practical hour could be done under supervision of a tutor. Here we can see that the lecturer must be involved in that practical work. So the lecturer needs to be with the students to provide support and assistance while they are doing their practical work or working on their business plans. If we have a look at the subject evaluation, we can see that this has been adjusted in line with the ICAS policy. So we have the theoretical components, which consists of your cycle test or class test with a weighting of 30%, and then your internal examination with a weighting of 50%. And then we have the practical component, which is the business plan or a practical assignment with a weighting of 20%, and those are combined to give you your semester mark with a weighting of 100%. If we have a look at the weightings for the final examination, they remain the same as per the previous syllabus, with paper 1 being a closed book paper with a weight of 25% of the final examination, covering modules 1 to 9. Paper 2 remains an open book paper with a weighting of 75%, also covering modules 1 to 9, with 4 questions, of which 3 are compulsory. If we look at Bloom's taxonomy, we will see that the weightings there remain the same as per the old syllabus, with the focus or the emphasis still being on comprehension and application. So students must understand what they are learning and be able to apply it to a practical situation or a case study or their own business plan. So in the syllabus, we find this section where they talk about an interactive didactic approach, which should be followed in order to equip students with the general and particular skills for entrepreneurship and business management in practice. Practical applications must take place continuously. So to facilitate this, we've included local relatable case studies wherever possible, as well as a variety of worksheets and templates for the business plan. And these are to assist students to become familiar with this practical approach. The students must be able to take everything that they've learned in theory and apply it in a practical situation. by applying it to a case study scenario, by completing a worksheet, or by applying it to their own business plan. If we make a comparison of the syllabus, this is the old versus the new. In the old syllabus, we had 9 modules. We taught various different modules, different topics, and we culminated at the end with a roundup by revising, presenting, and evaluating the business plan. So in the new syllabus, we still have the same 9 modules. There's been no change to the topics of the 9 modules. We still have the same 9 modules, but the order has been changed. You can see that module 9, the business plan module, has been moved forward. It is now module 5 in the new syllabus, and the subsequent modules have been renumbered accordingly. If we look at the module weightings, they are exactly the same as the old syllabus. There is no change there. You'll see that the focus is still very much on the business plan, which is now module 5, as well as the control module and the operations management module. But the weightings remain exactly the same, just the order has changed with the move of module 9 to module 5. So let's have a look at the syllabus changes per module. So for modules 1 to 5, there have been no changes to modules 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those modules remain the same topics in the same order with the same content. Module 5, revising, presenting, and evaluating the business plan, is the old module 9 from the previous syllabus, which, as we mentioned, has been brought forward. And the module numbering is adjusted accordingly on the subsequent modules. Moving on to module 6, this is our organizing the business module. And here there have been very minor changes to the wording of some of the learning outcomes, but no change to the content that you will be teaching. Terms such as explain in the old syllabus have been replaced with define or describe in the new syllabus. So just very minor changes to the wording of those learning outcomes, but the content remains the same. Taking a look at module 7, this is now our staffing module. There has been one change in module 7 to the steps in selecting the best qualified employees. So where we had the physical examination as one of the steps, we had 7 steps in the old syllabus. We now only have 6 steps in the new syllabus. The physical examination has been removed from the steps in selecting the best qualified employees. And this brings the content more in line with the Employment Equity Act. Obviously, the physical examination could be used as a way to discriminate against applicants who have disabilities, and also possibly as an invasion of privacy when it comes to applicants disclosing certain health information. So this has been removed, and we now have 6 steps instead of 7 steps. Here we have module 8, which is now the controlling module. And here our ratio analysis or financial ratios have been slightly expanded. The profitability ratio in the old syllabus specified return on assets or ROE, and this has been expanded in the new syllabus to have return on assets, ROA, as well as return on investment. So we now have 2 ratios there. It just clarifies and helps us to make sure that the students are learning the correct ratios and that they understand the difference between these ratios. And to help with this, we've included some QR codes. These are very useful, where the students can scan the QR code and they'll follow a link to watch a short video, and the video will show them how to compare the return on investments. Moving on to module 9, this is our operations management control module. There are no changes to this module. We have just included a number of diagrams as well as QR codes, little did you know boxes, definitions, and some flashbacks to M4 to show students where we are building on prior knowledge. We've done this for Module 9 because it is a module where students often struggle. If they have not been exposed to a manufacturing concern, they haven't been able to visit a factory, they haven't seen a production line in action, it can be quite a difficult topic for them to grasp. So, for example, here we have the QR code that takes them to a little video about causes of bottlenecks in a production line. Now, it's quite a simple concept, but if you've never seen a production line in action, you've never visited a factory, it can be hard to understand. So this video will show them exactly what we mean by the term bottleneck and how these happen and how they can be avoided. So one of the reasons for the change in the syllabus or the updating of the syllabus is to align it more with the ICAS guidelines. The new syllabus incorporates the presentation and evaluation of the business plan into Module 5. This makes provision for ICAS Assessment 2, which is your assignment or your practical task. So the focus of the assessment will be on Module 5, which is the business plan module, but knowledge of Modules 1 to 4 is necessary to complete Module 5, as well as reference to Modules 6 to 9. Then we have an additional module at the end of our book, which is Module 10, and then we provide students with a template that they can use to write up their business plan for presentation and evaluation. Each heading in the template is linked to sections of the framework that is discussed in Module 5, as well as links to the assessment criteria for the business plan, which is provided in the new syllabus document. The students can make a copy of the template, or they can recreate the template in a digital format using appropriate software applications. The electronic template will also be available on the Learning Zone, which is free to prescribing lecturers. And this creates a wonderful opportunity for cross-curricular teaching, where students can get assistance and support from their computer practice lecturers who can assist them with drawing up the electronic format of their business plan, or creating tables for information in the business plan, or just using shapes and images to create a logo for their business. Right, so let's take a closer look at that final module in the book, Module 10. Right, one of the things that we have in Module 10 is a practical entrepreneurship checklist. For all the tasks in the book, for each module, there's various tasks and activities that the students need to complete as they work through the syllabus, through the textbook. And here we have a checklist that they can use to monitor their progress and make sure that they've completed all the relevant tasks and activities when preparing for the final examination. So for example, you can see their Module 1 has a task about the external environment. The students can go back and recap the information which was available in Unit 1.3 to refresh their memory before starting the task. And they'll see that they need to complete this activity on Worksheet 1. And once they've completed the activity, they can mark it off as done, so they know that they have revised that section sufficiently for the exam preparation. Here you can see an example of some of the worksheets that we've included in Module 10. So for example, the worksheet for Module 1, which is the management environment, where students have to select an external environment and determine the influence of that environment on their business. And also an example of Worksheet 8 for operations management. And here we can see where students need to update their purchasing plan. So they would identify 3 suppliers for their business, and then they would use the variables for selecting a good supplier, such as quality and pricing and so on, and they would evaluate each supplier so that they can select the correct supplier for their business plan. Module 10 also contains the business plan template, and this is just a sample from that template. You can see here we have the cover sheet where students can fill in the name of their business, the name of the entrepreneur, the address, and so on. And they could also include the logo that they designed for their business on the cover sheet. We also have a sample here from the financial section of the business plan, the statement of profit or loss, where they can calculate their expected profit or loss for the first year of trading. In addition to the student book, there is also a business plan poster and a workbook that are very useful. The business plan poster is a wonderful front of class tool. It's an A1 size poster. It covers an outline of what will be taught throughout the book, through the syllabus, and it has QR codes from the various modules, which can be used as a brief introduction to the module. So students could actually walk up to the poster, scan the QR code, and watch a short video or read an article or link to a website or something that will provide them with a bit of information so that they know what to expect in that particular module. And then we have the workbook, which is a duplication of the worksheets and the templates for the business plan from module 10 of the student book. So this means that you now have 2 copies of the worksheets and the business plan templates, which is very useful because when we do our practical assignment or our business plan task, we need to keep a copy of that in our files as lecturers. Right? Part of the ICAS requirements is that we keep the tools that we use to create the semester mark as evidence in our assessment files. But our students also need their business plans and their worksheets for preparation for the exam and as reference materials in the open book section of the examination. So this has always created a bit of a problem where we need to keep a copy, but students also need to have the material with them to succeed in the final examination. Now we have 2 copies, one that remains in the student book, which means the student takes it with them into the exam room as a reference material in the open book exam, and a separate copy in the workbook, which can be submitted for assessment. Or we could make additional copies of the worksheets from the workbook, and those could be submitted and kept on file as part of the semester mark. We also have a very useful lecturer guide that is there to provide support and to reduce the workload of our lecturers. So it contains a teaching plan template, which we'll have a look at in a few minutes. It provides teaching suggestions for the various modules. It's there to save time, to help with your lesson preparation and your preparing the students for the final examination. And it also contains the rubrics and marking guidelines for the various activities in the student book. So here we have an example of the teaching plan and the teaching suggestions in the lecturer's guide. The teaching plan is very useful because it has all the modules from the syllabus along with a guideline on time management. So you can see there module 1 is allocated 1 week, week 1, your first week of teaching. And it has all the content and the learning outcomes from the syllabus, as well as the links to the activities or assessments that you can use in your lesson plan to check on students' progress or to provide homework activities. And it also tells you what resources are available to assist you in teaching that section. You'll see that here that module 1, unit 1.1, has PowerPoint slides, which are available on the Learning Zone. And it also has QR codes, which link to videos, online articles, websites, or other pieces of useful information that will help you with a practical application of the content in each section. We also have the teaching suggestions, which are some hints and tips that we as authors have put together over the years. And it's just there to give you some guidelines on how to approach each module and to direct you to the relevant worksheets or templates or sections in module 10 that will assist you in bringing the practical application into your lesson plan and your teaching plan. The lecturer guide also provides the memorandum for the power breaks and the case studies, as well as for the end of module assessments. So in each module, you have a variety of power break activities, as well as case studies that students can use to practice and that you can use to check their progress and make sure that they are understanding each section as you teach. At the end of each module, there's an end of module assessment, which contains a variety of different styles of questions, short questions, longer questions, which you can use as a summative assessment to check students' understanding of the module before you move on to the next section or next module. The lecture guide also contains the answers to the mock exam, which you will find in Module 10. Right, so in Module 10, we have a complete mock exam, which we have taken many years of past papers. We've collated them. We've looked at common questions. We've looked at different styles and different ways of asking questions about particular sections of the work. And we've put together a mock exam for paper 1 and paper 2, which are of a similar standard, similar format, similar style to what students should expect in their final examination. So you can use this as a practice examination. Students can complete the whole paper 1 and paper 2 under exam conditions in class as a practice before the final exam. Or you could use certain questions out of these papers as a summative assessment at the end of each module. You could identify which questions belong to each module and have students work through them as a class activity or a homework activity for extra practice. And you can also use it as a question bank. When you're setting your class test or your internal examination, you could pick out a few questions that relate to certain modules and use those as a question bank to help you set those assessments. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. I'd like to thank you all for your time and attention, and I wish you all the best with your teaching of EBM N5.
Thank you very much for that informative session from our subject matter expert. I trust that that has given you some insight and perspective to the exciting changes of the revised syllabus. Good day, colleagues. My section here will be to share with you the advantages, features, and benefits of our product from the Oxford University Press. At Oxford University, give you a bit of inside information, we use a quality assurance model called the LARP model, as you can see here. And that stands simply for languages, activities, assessments, progression, and planning. So at OUP, we adhere strictly to DHET's prescriptions and syllabus to ensure that we deliver material that speaks to you and your students' needs. The textbooks, the materials, and all our digital platforms are carefully developed alongside our experienced authors and subject matter experts, and we align all of this to our LARP model. And let me explain to you how this works within our book. What can you expect when you order through Oxford University Press for the EBM N5 title? You will get your student book plus a free workbook. Now I'll get to the workbook in just a minute. And you will also have the offering of the lecturer guide, which assists you, the lecturer, saves you time with added resources, which I'll also get to a bit later in this section. So just looking at the student book firstly. Now, the quality assurance area of language, we carefully work and strategically plan the way in which we describe words or stories so that it can suit the level of student and also the type of student being in a TVET environment. And we also know that English is not always a first language for most of our students, sometimes second, often a distant third language. So we assist in this manner to make the wording, the sentence structures, and the stories that we provide in case studies a bit more understandable through the language that we use. So this is one of the key features in our book, the module openers. So we provide a flow chart at the top of all the units that you can expect within the module. And these units are presented exactly as prescribed by DHET. The learning outcomes thereafter are also listed exactly as per DHET syllabus, indicating to the students and you as well as the lecturer the outcomes that students should be able to achieve at the end of this module. Then below the learning outcomes, we have a box with key terms, and these were carefully selected words from the subject matter experts and our authors in terms of terms or words that are required for students to identify firstly, and also know how to define them or use them within sentence structures within every module. These words are also words that we feel will feature greatly in national examination papers or internal examination papers. So the more students engage with these words, the better the understanding is with a specific module. So that you will find at the bottom of each module opener. Then, just after the opener, also to do with our language component of quality assurance, we have our starting points. Now, the starting points are either real case studies which we have sourced, or it is written up by the subject matter experts or the authors in order to provide a narrative of the learning outcomes or the purpose of a specific module. So each starting point has a specific story that is local and relatable. So as you can see here, this is a local entrepreneur within the clothing industry that we sourced from a newspaper article on the 3rd of October in 2016. So these are very relevant stories that students can use and relate to, so that when they start off each module, they start off with a story. And we've enhanced or used the power of narratives and stories within our recipe of our book. So the starting points are case study driven, which is also a prescription by DHET for the subject. And it incorporates the learning outcomes. So students generally wouldn't read the learning outcomes as per the syllabus, but we've cleverly incorporated it within the story so that students can also know what individuals in the real world are going through and also what to expect throughout this module. And it's linked to the module activities as well. So you will see within our activities that we will refer back to the starting point so that students can engage with the story once more and reinforce the narrative of the starting point. Then we have our power breaks and activities. So you have a wide variety of these activities that either feature after each unit or each section or after every second unit or every second section. But there is quite a lot of activities known as power breaks in the book that allows students to gauge their level of competency at a certain point. Instead of waiting for the end of the book for a internal examination or formative assessment, now you want to test everything of the student. So here we break it up into little bits of manageable outcomes and chunks of work. And what we also do is, here's a classic example of where we refer back to the starting point before answering the two simple questions. But what we've added to this as well, which is the next feature I will get to, is QR codes. Now the QR codes, and I will just skip this, but before I get there, these activities or power breaks can be used in the classroom if you have time, or assigned as homework. So it's up to you as the lecturer in terms of your time management and time with your students to do it in class or through a blended learning approach online. So we provide you with everything and you decide how to use it. So I'm getting back to the QR codes here. So the QR codes is an awesome feature that we have in the book. And that is an extension that we provide for the learning experience. So we know we have different learners. We have visual learners, we have auditory learners, we have text learners. So they learn by reading, they learn by listening, they learn by pictures. And then you get ones that are the visual audio type, which is videos. And videos, we know, is a key component in today's generation, the 21st century, the fourth industrial revolution. Videos has power. So we've added this little key element in our features to extend the learning experience of you, the lecturer, but also the learners. in the digital age. So the QR codes is not the core material. The core material still rests within text so that we make it accessible to online learners and non-online learners as well. But the QR codes, should you have Wi-Fi or students have access to Wi-Fi at home, it adds an extension. So it helps them understand a little bit of a unit or a full module through the power of a video. And these videos are carefully selected. So it's not just any video we found on YouTube and decided to throw it in there just to make it look good, but it's carefully selected in terms of the value that the video has and will add to the student's learning experience and overall holistic growth and development. Then to reinforce the key terms and definitions and words that students really need to engage with, we have did you know boxes that provide interesting facts and additional information. And then definition boxes, which you will find either on every page or every second page, but as soon as the word appears in the text, it's highlighted in bold, and that definition is immediately listed at the bottom of that page. So it reinforces constantly a word and a definition. So it helps the students at the end of the module, at the end of the semester, having seen this word and engaged with this word constantly, and not only when they get to the exams. So this is a cool feature that we find very beneficial for students as well for reinforcement. Then at the end of each module, so remember all these features that I'm talking about, it's per module. So this makes one full quality resource. At the end of each module, we have a summary under the heading, what have we learned and where to next. So this just summarizes nicely in a few sentences what the student just dealt with, what the student just learned in that, and what is expected for the next module. After that, we have a checklist. So this acts as a quality assurance tool that you, the lecturer, can actually take advantage of cleverly. So ask the students to complete this checklist and then just walk around and then see which ones they have not ticked, and then ask them, were you absent on that day? Why don't you know it? Then refer them to the page number. And even on our checklist in the second column, we refer you to the actual page number where you find the content to satisfy that learning outcome so that you can learn it and then tick it off. And if students have ticked everything off, you can also test them by saying, okay, so you ticked everything off. So can you explain this to me? Can you define this? And that will indicate to you if students actually know what the checklist is for. And also see the power of the checklist in terms of self-evaluation for them, and also a quality assurance tool for you as the lecturer, instead of building up your own resources. So here you have a resource that can be used in different ways. After the checklist, once everything is ticked off and you are now satisfied that students actually know why they ticked it and they know their work, there is an assessment at the end of the module. Now, the assessment is set up to mimic an internal or ICAS exam and the national exam. So it's set up according to Bloom's taxonomy, where you start out with short response questions, moving up to medium, moving up to long, and gradually testing students' competence. You will also see that the marks are provided to students in these assessments, whether it's formative, in class, but it helps students understand that there are mark allocations to it and the level of response that they need to give to it. So for true and false, it's just a T and F. Column A, column B is just making an arrow association. But then to the longer questions, you add 6 marks. So now they know explain, you need to give a bit more detail and sentence structures and so forth. So the mark allocations at the beginning already help students navigate and that fear. So when they get to national exams or internal exams, they've seen this before. So it becomes a bit more familiar. Then at the end of the book, we have national examination mock papers. And for EBM, we know there's paper 1 and paper 2, closed book, open book, one set for half an hour, the other one for the remaining 2.5 hours. So the time allocation is set there, the mark allocation is set there, and the marks per questions are set there to mimic exactly what students can expect for national exams. So this is a full national examination paper, and the answers of which you will find in the lecturer guide. I'll get to that in a minute. an added feature. So the syllabus only has 9 modules, as we heard from our author and subject matter expert in the syllabus review. There's only 9 modules, but we have a 10th one. And this is the bonus module to you, to help you as lecturers and the students develop and build on that core element for EBM, the business plan. So this builds on and extends to the knowledge that was learned in N4. And at the end of each module, we have a box at the end of the assessments of that module that refers back to the practical assignments to build up your business plan. And module 10 is specifically developed and isolated for these templates, for this development, and also as a quality assurance checklist, once more, to you and the lecturer, to you and the student. So at the beginning, you will find the task and activity column, which unit relates to this information, which worksheet within this module 10 can help develop that competence, and then a checklist at the end to say, done, not done, or the date, and students will sign. So this module 10 is found in the student book, okay? So it becomes this additional tool at the end of the book where students can actually use it as a tick list. But what we've added to this as well, okay, and I'm getting there. So these are just a few examples of what the worksheets look like. So it kind of assists you with short questions at the beginning before moving into a bit more in-depth questioning. All right, so the worksheets are carefully thought out of to provide you and the students a playground and a sandbox in which to work and develop your competence around the business plan. So here's just a few more examples of the tasks and worksheets that you can find in the bonus module, module 10. And then what we provide with our EBM product. Firstly, let me distinguish between the two. With every book you purchase, you get the workbook. Now, related to module 10. Module 10 is part of the book. So you have all 9 modules plus 10, which just comes as one book. But we've taken module 10 out and provided it as a separate workbook, which you also get with the student book. So when you purchase the student book, you get the student book with module 10 in, plus an additional extract of module 10, which is the workbook. Why we did this was because we know that the business plan forms part of some colleges' practical assessment, the ICAS assessment, your practical task. So instead of the student walking around with a thick textbook, we've just extracted the worksheets from module 10, which is the business plan. So as students work in class, they can actually use this workbook as the developmental tool towards that ICAS mark. So you as the college can either decide to use this workbook as the actual ICAS assessment, or you can use it as the playground or the sandbox or the drawing board for students to practice in, and you will revise it for students so that by the time they get to your ICAS assessment, they've already done the developmental work in the workbook. They can then reuse this workbook in the open book examination, should it feature part of the learning outcomes and criteria. So this workbook serves multiple purposes. It's a multifunctional tool, which you as the college can use to your disposal and to the students' advantage. Here's a little bit of advice. You can even keep the workbook in the classroom, have students write their name on it, and ensure that whenever they come to class and they indicate, sir, I forgot the book, ma'am, I forgot my textbook at home, no problem, I have your workbook. So you can still continuously work and avoid unnecessary disruptions within the classroom. And this workbook can then become a little communication tool between you and the students. And it's neatly packaged. So you don't need to develop any worksheets. It's done for you already. Now the poster. The poster does not come with the purchase of the book, but if you are one of the colleges that took advantage of receiving our sales consultants and receiving promotional items, the review copy, for example, the sample copy, this is part of the promotional pack. If you're having an EBM workshop with us, we are very excited about that and look forward to running a workshop at your college. If you have not had a workshop from Oxford University Press for the EBM N4, N5, and N6 series, contact us. The poster serves as a great teaching tool. The poster size is A1, so that's big enough for you to see at the back of a classroom or at the front. So you can use this as the lecturer at the front of the classroom and add sticky notes. So we extracted modules from the textbook, added a short summary of what that module is, and then a QR code for a video related to that module. So here's another helpful hint. You can use this post at the front of your classroom, add a sticky note to say this we will do in week 1, week 2 we will do module 2, week 3, and you can tick it then off as a visual teaching aid in your classroom. Students can also then see which ones are done, which ones are still coming, and then also just get a little bit of a snapshot of what that module is about before actually engaging with the textbook. So this is a very powerful and useful tool that you can use in the classroom, and you can use it year on year on year because it's from the revised syllabus. Then we get to the lecturer guide. Now this is a support tool that helps reduce your workload. It provides lesson plan templates, and we know lesson plans is a nightmare and a challenge. We have teaching suggestions in there, and this comes from our authors and subject matter experts who have been in the classroom for years, and they have best practices which they can share with you to help your journey within your classroom. Saves you time. We know time is very valuable. A semester is not 6 months. A semester is what, 3.5, 4 months. Then it's national exams. Close your eyes, it's over. So we're saving you time. There's exam preparations, assessment preparations, formative, summative, and all the rubrics, marking guidelines, and answers are there for you. You just simply have to turn to the page, photocopy it, send it to them online, or use it as your marking guideline for any formative assessment. Here's an example of the teaching plan. We mapped out the modules, the weeks, the units that you will be covering, the assessments, PB being the acronym for power break for activities, CS for case study. And then we left the last column open for you. And that's because each college has their own timetable around which they work. So we can't tell you which days you must finish these things off. So that column is left clear and open for you to indicate your start date, your end date, and sign it off. And that forms part of your POA. All right? So we're making things a bit easier for you, your life a bit easier, because as a lecturer myself, I've been in the classroom, so I know the challenges we have around time. Here's one example of the teaching suggestions I will provide in every module for you as well. And then we have a semester plan. So these can either be photocopied as is into your POA, or you can just copy and paste them from the electronic version into your college template. But all the information is here for you already. Here's an example of the answers for the power break activities, the case study, sample suggested answers, and also the formative or summative assessments, end of module and national exam, mock exam. We've indicated the marks as well, and the numerical mark value plus the ticks to show you where exactly these marks should be allocated. Then we have a digital platform where we house all our digital material. And the main digital material is our PowerPoints. Now, each module has a basic PowerPoint for you to download and use front of class. So it saves you time of actually creating PowerPoint presentations. And these are very well-designed PowerPoint presentations, but we haven't locked them in terms of making them a slideshow or on SharePoint, or we provide you with the open PowerPoint presentation for you to add and remove as you feel, because one teaching style is different to another. So you like more text, the other lecturer likes more graphics. You can download the PowerPoints and choose as you want how to edit it. And this is all available. Now you will see I have 2 platform names here. Currently, if you are already on this platform, awesome. If not, okay. The Learning Zone. So this is a platform where we house all of that digital material, the electronic version of the lecturer guide where you can copy and paste information. And we also have self-marking activities for the true and false questions, so that students can repetitively go through these things. It gives them the mark in the end. They can redo the assessment to improve their mark and constantly repeat this type of assessment. So we are moving from learning zone to edu zone. Now, don't be alarmed. You will still get the free content. It's just going to look different. So once we are ready on that announcement level, please keep track of our social media platforms, our resource hub platform, for updates and information when you are able to register on our new and exciting platform. So we will be saying goodbye to Learning Zone within this year, and welcome to Edu Zone come next year. Okay, so be on the lookout for that and take advantage of this digital platform. So just to give you a quick summary of the journey I've taken you on now, we align ourselves fully to the Department of Higher Education. We don't steer away from that. We use experienced authors who have time in the classroom, experience teaching the subject, and we have subject matter experts that are in the field of business and economics that also does review and consultations in terms of the content that we provide. We use our student book and lecturer guide as one, and now you've seen the workbook as an additional resource, and we line all of that up so that you can quickly move from one book to the other without any hassle. The features of our books: module openers with key terms and laid out learning outcomes. We have starting points, which are real world focused and case study focused, and localized is key. We use activities, multiple activities that you can do in class or assign as homework. We reinforce key terms through definition boxes. We enhance the learning experience through QR codes, and we have end of module summaries, checklists, and assessments. At the end of the book, we have a national examination, mock exam, and then we have additional resources such as our Learning Zone, soon to be Edu Zone, where we provide you with the digital materials that helps you help your students. And then additional support and guidance such as webinars, virtual presentations, and workshops that we do with you. So should you feel that your college would benefit from a workshop, get hold of us. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Just move my camera one side so that you can see that our N6 title is currently loading. So be on the lookout for that as well. So get in touch with one of our sales consultants at the Oxford University Press Sales team to succeed in DHET and succeed in EBM N5. Thank you for your time here today, and I wish you well within your subject and your teaching of EBM N5, and all the success to you and your students. Goodbye.